When did 40 start feeling like 70? When does your recovery get slower? Your energy disappear? Your motivation fade? Or your sleep become work? Stay with me here, because by the end of this trial, I'm going to give you the energy filter that I use with patients to determine whether you're experiencing normal aging or whether something is quietly stealing the future version of you. And what happens next may depend on which one it is. I have this patient, he's in his 40s. He said he felt foggy, sluggish, and looked worn out in the mirror. He went on to take weekly testosterone shots, IV peptide infusions, quite a number of supplements, and also cosmetic fillers, etc. for his face. Now, his blood pressure came back elevated, his blood sugar, liver function, and blood count all came back elevated on routine blood work. He had to get a phlebotomy to reduce his blood count and come off everything that he was on to isolate the culprit and fix his conditions. So here's my opening statement from the heart. For 30 years, I have heard the same sentence. Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore. Not sick, not dying, just different. And most people just assume that feeling old means that they are old. But what if it's not true? What if some of the things that we are blaming on aging actually are warning signs? This is Low Risk Work, and I'm Dr. Scott Eisenberg, a board-certified interventional cardiologist and lipid specialist. I am not a doctor with a courtroom show. I'm simply the doctor who teaches people how to think clearly about their health. Low Risk Court is the vehicle that I use, which is completely different than everything else out there. So before we react, let's evaluate. Court is now in session. Let's hear the charges. Today's defendant, it's just aging. It's charged with stealing our energy, destroying our vitality, taking away our strength, slowing our brains, and making us feel old. Now let's hear from both sides. The prosecution states, members of the jury, aging is the culprit. You're 45. Of course you're tired. You're 52. Of course you're heavier. You're 60. Of course you can't recover. That's life. Accept it and move on. But now, let's hear from the defense. Objection. Age changes us, but age does not explain everything. And many people aren't suffering from aging, they're suffering from muscle loss, metabolic dysfunction, sleep deprivation, chronic stress, loneliness, inflammation, loss of purpose, and those things are just not the same. As always, we need to have a cross-exam. So if age is the whole story, then why do some 75-year-olds travel the world while some 45-year-olds struggle just climbing the stairs? Why do some people become more vibrant with age while others decline decades earlier? So maybe the real question isn't how old are you? Maybe what is aging stealing? And more importantly, what are you giving away? So let's hear from the evidence. The first piece of evidence, muscle loss starts earlier than you think. After age 30, yes, you heard that right, in your 30s, adults begin losing muscle. Loss accelerates over time. Imagine your muscles or your body's retirement account. Most people think that they stop contributing at age 65, but the truth, many people start withdrawing from their account in their 30s. And decades later, they wonder why the account is empty. How about the second piece of evidence? VO2 max predicts future survival. Your fitness does strongly predict your longevity, your independence, and your disease risk. Now, VO2 max sounds really complicated, but it isn't. It's basically your body's engine size. So let's take a look at a lawnmower and a Ferrari. They both move, but one has more reserve and more power. Human beings work the same way. Let's look at the third piece of evidence, something we call metabolic drift. Insulin resistance develops silently up to 10 years before diabetes, years before symptoms, years before diagnosis. Think of blood sugar like rust. You don't notice it on the first day, and maybe not the first year, but eventually it affects everything it touches. Let's move on to evidence number 4. Sleep becomes biology. Poor sleep affects hormones, appetite, memory, and inflammation, along with recovery. You see, sleep isn't just rest, sleep is repair. And many people are trying to live on yesterday's repairs. The fifth piece of evidence is your purpose predicts your aging. There's research that repeatedly links social connection, purpose, and engagement to healthier aging. The body ages, but having meaning to your life really, really matters. Some people retire from work. Others, unfortunately, retire from life. The outcomes just aren't the same. So here's what's really important in this trial. Maybe aging isn't what really scares us. Maybe what scares us is becoming someone that we don't recognize. Losing independence, losing confidence, losing possibility, becoming a burden, and becoming invisible. And that fear drives an entire industry. Longevity, supplements, peptides, hormones, biohacking, recovery protocols. By the way, all of these will go on trial here. Because underneath all of them is the same burning question: can I keep being me? So why does this matter to your future? This may be the most important part of this trial, because if you ignore these signs, you're not deciding whether you'll age, you're deciding how you'll age. Every year of declining muscle, declining fitness, declining metabolic health, it compounds, just like bank interest. Except this is reverse interest. Your future self pays the bill, and most people don't realize that they are sending the invoice. So here's the one thing that I want you to take away from this trial. Feeling old and being old are not the same thing. Some decline is inevitable, but much decline is negotiable. And the earlier you recognize this difference, the more future you get to keep. So therefore, I give to you my energy filter and get to work tips to feel as young as you really are. E stands for energy. Do you wake feeling refreshed or exhausted? Because if it's the latter, you need to find out why. N stands for normalize. Normalize decline. Have you accepted the symptoms as aging, or could there be something else going on? The other E stands for exercise capacity. Ask yourself, can you do more or less than 5 years ago? And if less, why? R stands for recovery. How long does it take for you to bounce back? Because if it's much longer, you need to make some changes. G stands for growth. Are you still building something, or are you stuck? Y stands for your future self. What happens if nothing changes in 5, 10, 15, or 20 years? Let's get to work. The first thing is measure your fitness. Don't guess. Measure. What level are you really truly at? And where can you realistically see yourself heading? Number 2, preserve your muscle as early as possible. Strength train, at least twice weekly minimum. A recent trial in women showed that at least 2 hours a week can drastically 20% drop their cardiovascular risk. The third one is so important. I say this every trial. Protect your sleep. Treat it like medicine. Stay tuned because this will be a full trial, an important one. The fourth is screen your metabolic health. Do not wait for the actual diagnosis of diabetes. Remember, it occurs 10 years earlier, and you can and should screen for it. And finally, number 5, please build your next chapter. Purpose is biology, not philosophy. Think to yourself, what would long-range future me want to feel like and look like? We have now reached the verdict portion of this trial. On the charge that aging is the primary reason that most people suddenly feel old, the court finds not guilty. Most people are not suffering from aging alone. Many are suffering from loss of muscle, poor sleep, metabolic dysfunction, chronic stress, inactivity, and excess visceral fat that have been quietly accumulating for years. On the charge that feeling old is an unavoidable part of getting older, the court finds not guilty. The evidence shows that much of what people call aging is actually a loss of physiological reserve. And that reserve, my jurors, can often be rebuilt. On the charge that we should simply accept feeling worse every year, the court finds guilty. This belief is guilty of stealing decades of health from millions of people. On sentencing, the court sentences this myth to immediate retirement. My jurors out there, please evaluate this claim. Is it really age, or have we mistaken preventable decline for inevitable aging? Here's my closing statement from the heart. I have taken care of people in their 90s who have inspired me, and people in their 40s who felt completely defeated. Age matters, but your trajectory matters more, because the goal isn't living forever. The goal is keeping as much life as possible in the years you already have left. Let's hear from you. Be honest, what was the first moment you realized you didn't feel like yourself anymore? Was it energy? Was it memory, recovery, motivation, or something else? I read every comment, and I invite you to like this episode and subscribe to get notified of the next trial, because next time we are putting medical gaslighting on trial. Sometimes the most dangerous symptom isn't chest pain, it's feeling like nobody is listening. This is Low Risk Court. I do not want to meet you on your worst day, because your future isn't built in emergencies. It's built in the ordinary decisions that you repeat every single day. Until next time, let's protect the person that you are still becoming. This court is now adjourned.